Hi, welcome back to the Deeper Yes, episode 2. I'm so excited to be here with you guys, and I'm so thankful that you came back to be with me. And I'm thankful for those of you that have liked, have commented, or had even shared episode 1. I know it was short and sweet. There'll probably be about 10 minutes, 15 minutes when I'm sharing with you. And then I think I might have said in episode 1, when I'm interviewing other women, those might be more like 20, 25 minutes, half hour even, so that we can really just get into the meat a little bit. This episode was going to be peace over noise, and I'm still going to do that, and that might be episode 3. But I really felt compelled to share a little bit more of my own personal story and how I got to the Deeper Yes podcast, and even walking in this and saying yes to myself and saying yes to the Lord who really called me to this. So I just thought it might help for you guys to understand a little bit of who I am and how I got here and where I'm coming from and where I was and where I'm going. So I hope you enjoy this. It might be a little bit longer than 6 minutes, but I hope it really resonates with you. And if it does, I hope and pray that you'll share it with other women that you think could be impacted by my story and of what's to continue to come as this podcast grows. Okay, so I feel like I could go way back, but I'm going to start more about when I was in my 30s and 40s as my part of the story that led me to the Deeper Yes. And so at that point in my life, I was a young mama. I have 2 children. I had a miscarriage, so that was that wrecked me. That happened on my birthday, and that wrecked me because I always knew I was knew and believed that I was supposed to be a mama of more than 2 children. But moving forward, I got through that. I grieved. I released the fact that God's plan was a little bit different than mine. And so I was in the throes, if you're young mamas, of raising 2 children who I loved and adored, and I felt like with all of my health issues were true gifts from God to me, because probably my body was never meant to get pregnant. That's another whole episode. But in my 30s and 40s, I was busy raising them. I was volunteering at their schools. I was serving at our church with the women's Bible study and in women's leadership. We would do retreats. What else was I doing? I was working in direct sales, and obviously I was partnering with my husband raising our family. So I had a lot going on. I was really involved in our community and just serving my friends when they were in need as well. I was on our hospitality ministry at church. I just had a lot. I juggled a lot. I loved it all. I never felt like that wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. But what I want you to know in that season of life is I also was still working on recovering from being a people pleaser. I was still learning how to yield and release, that I didn't need to do all of that in my own power and strength. That serving, that volunteering, that facilitating Bible study, that all those things, even mothering, to be honest, and being a friend and being a sister and being a daughter, all those things, I was still doing most of that in my own power and strength. So if you're in that season of life, or you ever were in that season of life, you would know very clearly, I think this will land strongly with you, that when we're living life like that, and we're volunteering, we're serving, and we're raising our children, and all the things, and like I was working this side job in direct sales, and we're doing it in our own power and strength, it's exhausting. We were never meant to do it all in our own power and strength. And I never honestly had someone really clearly, with clarity, come alongside of me, hold my hand, lock arms with me, and help me realize and understand until I got much older that I was never designed to do that all by myself in my own power and strength. That was God's job, right? He just called me to say yes and yield and okay, and I'll follow you. So lots of exhaustion, lots of pressure, lots of noise, lots of looking for approval from the outside, the world, others. And quite honestly, from the outside looking in, I look like I had it all together. I'm just gonna be honest, I did, because I also was recovering from this whole idea of perfectionism, which, by the way, P.S., if you don't know and no one said it, it's unattainable. this side of heaven. It's not happening. But again, I didn't have someone really speak that lovingly into me early in my life, early 30s, mid 30s. And then as I approached 40s, I was learning. But I think maybe I was a slow learner. So pressure, exhaustion, like I said, and just really listening too much to the outside noise. And here's what I want you to know with all of that. Because of that, I was always putting everybody else first before my own needs. Hey, if you know Enneagrams, by the way, maybe that will be something we'll talk about in an episode. I'm a classic 2. And an unhealthy state of a classic 2 Enneagram is we interpret love as being needed. And yes, that's how I interpret love. But in my healthy state, I recognize I don't have to be needed to be loved. There's other ways people can show me love, right? But I was in the throes of that in my 30s and a little bit in my 40s. And so guess what happened? I wasn't paying attention to all these warning signs physically that were happening to my body as my body was trying to figure out what to do with stress that I didn't even realize, quite honestly, I was under. It was definitely a blind spot for me, because overall I felt like my life's good. I have these amazing friends. I love my church and my church family where we were at the time. I loved every second, even the stressful ones, of raising my children. Like, I loved that, and I knew that was my plan and purpose, was to be a mama to these two. That's why I still, I want to be in their lives all the time, because I never thought I want to be done with that. I looked forward to summer. I was probably one of the weirdo moms that I can't wait for summer and no schedule, and just to have all this time with my kids. So all that of putting others before myself and my needs led to my autoimmune disease. So I have Hashimoto's, I have Raynaud's, I had Lyme disease, I had hormone imbalance. Again, no one ever told me that wasn't normal. I just thought it was my normal. And I have this whole other plethora. I have a blood clotting disorder. So I had a lot of things working against me. Again, I thought I'm a really healthy person. So I wasn't recognizing that. I wasn't even acknowledging it, to be quite honest. But it got so bad that it did catch my attention. And then I had to figure out what was going on. Also, I had leaky gut, just a lot of issues. But what I learned as I started to work on healing in that space of my life is that probably lay dormant in my body for a very long time, all the way back into my 20s. But because I really didn't address all these other stressors that were going on in my life that I wasn't quite honestly recognizing as stress, my body started to flare, and it started to say, we can't do this anymore. And it started to go into, you probably see it all over social media now, this nervous system not regulated, high cortisol, fight or flight, bad chronic inflammation, and it was showing up in all sorts of ways: bloated gut, unhealthy gut, couldn't eat a lot of foods that I used to be able to eat, foggy brain, losing short-term memory, couldn't articulate words, sleep was really disrupted, or I thought I slept really well and then I'd wake up feeling like I got hit by a Mack truck, cuts weren't healing for months, I was losing my eyebrows, hair was falling out, right? So you get it, that must resonate with somebody that's listening here. Lots and lots of things going on. And what I knew is it was time to take care of me. And I would say back in 2016, and then leading into 2017, a friend gifted me a book called One Word by John Gordon. So go check it out. You can read it in 45 minutes. And that was life-altering, life-changing. And the word that I felt was given to me by God was the word significance. And it made me sob in a good way, because I realized I had reached a point in the 30s, 40s, right? Giving and giving and giving to everybody else and forgetting to take care of me, that I had lost remembering that I had value, that I had worth, that I had significance, that I was important, that I was loved, all those things. Hence, physically, my body started to say, we're breaking down, because my mind had forgotten truth. And that started this journey, I believe, all the way back then, started this journey to leading to the Deeper Yes podcast that's here before you today, episode 2, because I started to do work and I recognized I physically was unhealthy and fighting a lot of illness and disease, but my mind had bought into things that I knew were not true. They were lies. So I was believing lies. So my mind needed help, my body needed help, and my heart and my soul and my spirit needed help. Because even though I was involved in Bible study, even though I was very, very plugged into my church, even though I love the Lord with all my heart, soul, and mind, I was still wrestling. It was like in scripture when it said, I wish I could remember who it is. I'm going to have to look that up for you guys. When the man is approaching you, help my unbelief. I believe, but help my unbelief. That's where I was at. Help my unbelief. Like I believe here, but I need to believe here. I need to walk it out. And so I knew mind, body, spirit, faith needed healing. And that started back in 2016 and 17. And I have been on that journey since then, working hard, not in my own power and strength, but working hard to bring healing on all those different levels and learning how to say yes, a deeper yes to me, and to allowing God to do the work in me and through me, learning to lean on him, learning to lean into him, learning that he brought other people that loved him with all their heart, soul, and mind into my life around me, and learning that he often used them to speak to me. He used his word, the Bible. He used a love of listening to worship music. He used that. He used sermons. But he also used friends that came alongside of me to speak truth into me, to help me see my blind spots and learn to break free from them and break through them. And it's become my passion to be able to reach back to the young women, like women my age too, in the 50s and 40s, but all the way back to women in their 30s, to help them realize and recognize their worth and their value and their significance, and to allow truth to sit into their mind and heart and spirit so that they can experience joy and peace that took me quite a while to recognize that I could enjoy and I could sit in and be able to learn to quiet the noise. I now call myself a recovered people pleaser. I don't strive for perfection. I strive for progress and growth. I have learned to break through so many brick walls, and I know I have so many more brick walls to break through. I have been able to use that truth that God's planted in me, and the comfort and the strength and the encouragement, and reach back and help other women. And that's where this podcast birthed out of. That's where the Deeper Yes came from. God has been pricking my heart for a couple of years now, you guys, to do this podcast. And I kept thinking, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know, am I supposed to? I want to say yes, Lord, because I want to be in that space of saying yes. But I don't know how to do all the technical stuff. And there was just always something that I allowed to get in the way. And I finally decided, after talking to a friend a few weeks ago, enough is enough, and it's time to move forward. And if I really, with all my heart, soul, passion, want to be able to help other women, this is just another way and platform that I can do that and share what I've learned along the way, and hopefully be a voice of encouragement and support and love, and I hope be able to help plant some seeds of peace and joy in your life. So we're going to talk next week probably about quieting the noise and experiencing peace, and stop listening to all the other stuff out in the world, and just be quiet and still and rest and listen to the message that I know God has for you too. And I'm going to just hope and pray that if I keep saying yes, he'll use me as a vessel to speak exactly the message you need to hear each week. So I really hope and pray that this resonates with you. I hope this landed a little bit. I hope this spoke to someone today. And if it did, I'm just going to ask you again, Please subscribe and please share it with a friend or friends or family or sisters or moms or aunts or coworkers, somebody else that you think they need to hear this message each week and they need to experience encouragement in their lives. And I hope that together, as we lock arms, we will reach many, many women and we will impact the world for good, for joy, for peace. Thanks again. I'm so thankful that you have taken this time, 15 minutes out of your day to listen, and I can't wait to connect with you again next week. All right, have a beautiful day.